Yo, what's going on, my fellow Breaking Bad fans? It is GZTV bringing you guys another video on this. Bringing you guys another video on this series. We have the second episode of season 5. We're steadily getting through this show. Not that I want it done anytime soon. I'm having an absolute blast with them. This one is an absolute masterpiece. Gotta clear my desk real quick. And the more I watch it, the more I'm just amazed at what they're able to pull off here. Let me move my desk. Okay, or my fucking little table. I mean, if you guys saw my setup, you'd think I'm ghetto as hell for this, but let me make this image smaller, just make sure. Touch some things up before we start the actual review. But yeah, let's get through the plot. Let's get through what people think. Let's get through what I think. In Hanover, Germany, Peter Schuler, an executive for Madrigal Electromotive GmbH, the parent company of Los Pollos Hermanos, kills himself with a portable defibrillator after police arrive to question him about his long-standing ties to Gus Fring. I mean, this is one of the most confusing moments in the show because you're not really sure why this guy killed himself. It's kind of disturbing. We get introduced to this Peter Schuler guy. He's like testing out chicken. He's trying to get this brand revamped. He has no hope for the brand, so I guess he kills himself. I don't really know. So they have like a restaurant division. They have a bunch of restaurants, and obviously Los Pollos Hermanos is like their biggest restaurant. So I guess he kills himself because of that. I'll have to look into things, like look at fan theories as to why this guy killed himself. He's not guilty. And maybe him killing himself is gonna be them like pointing their fingers to him so nobody else can take the blame. I don't know. There's a lot of different reasons that people have for this guy killing himself. This is a pretty weird moment in the show. But anyways, back in Albuquerque, Jesse panics over the missing ricin cigarette, worried that someone will find it and get poisoned. Well, Jesse, to be honest, as long as nobody close to your family doesn't get it, they're fine. But we know right now that the ricin cigarette is secure. Saul Goodman got it. And yeah. Walt hides the vial of ricin behind an electrical outlet cover in his house and creates a fake one, planting it in Jesse's Roomba when he helps search Jesse's house. So, I mean, Walter's really going with this. He's really going with this story. He's really going with this gimmick of, oh, shit, you just lost it. You're good. No one got it. When really somebody took it out of his locker while he was at work, or someone took it from him out of his house. And it was held in Saul Goodman's office. And then Walter used the berries to poison Brock, which is fucking evil, Walt. I mean, I didn't really like when I figured out that Walt did this, but it is what it is. Jesse finds it and tearfully laments what he believes is his own stupidity, apologizing to Walt for suspecting him of poisoning Brock. No, Walt actually poisoned Brock, but not in the way you think. So, yeah, Jesse feels really guilty. Walt is trying to get Jesse on his side, and he does it very successfully. Jesse is very, emotionally vulnerable at this point in the show. Yeah. Walt and Jesse offer Mike an equal three-way partnership and a new meth operation. So these guys, not learning their lessons, not settling for shit, are going up to Mike and like, hey, let's do a trio. Let's do a trio meth business now that Gus is out of the picture. Mike refuses, explaining that Walt is a dangerous time bomb and he has no intention of waiting until Walt blows everything around him to pieces. Fair point. I mean, everything that Walt gets his hands in, he creates a mess out of it. I mean, let's be real here. Saul suggests that with Gus eliminated, Walt can safely and cleanly quit the drug trade. So Saul is wanting Walt to really get out of this thing. I mean, he's got what he needed. Get him out of there. However, Walt justifies rebooting the meth business by claiming that it is a golden opportunity that he cannot afford to leave behind. Since he is actually $40,000 in debt to Jesse after Skyler gave over $600,000 to Ted and paid for Hank's physical therapy. I mean, yeah, to be fair, he is $40,000 in the hole, but aren't we all? Most Americans have debt. I mean, if you're not a doctor, if you're not a lawyer, if you're not a high-class person, you're most likely in debt. Yeah. But the main obstacle to Walt and Jesse's comeback plan is the need for a new source of methylamine, the precursor to their premium grade version of meth. So they face the same problem that they kind of did at the beginning of the show, trying to find supplies for their lab. Meanwhile, Hank takes part in a meeting between the DEA and Madrigal CEO, who claims Schuler was a lone criminal within the business and promises full cooperation. So the Madrigal CEO is here to kind of clear the air because the DEA is pretty much studying this Frank case. It involves meth, and they suspected that Schuler might have did it if he killed himself. So the CEO is trying to kind of vouch for him a little bit. Hank's boss, ASAC George Merkert, reveals that he is being forced out of his job as symbolic punishment by his superiors for failing to heed Hank's warnings about Gus. So he has to quit his job because Hank was right, pretty much. That's crazy. Merkert reflects on his friendship with Gus and wonders aloud who else might be leading a double life, which seems to suddenly strike a chord with a pensive-looking Hank. So, we all know what Hank is kind of thinking right now. Oh my God, Walt could be doing this. Even the most normal, the most intelligent people could be living a double life. So Hank is kind of getting suspicion, and that will definitely develop through season 5. But yeah. A Houston-based Madrigal executive named Lydia Rodart Quayle asked Mike to kill 11 men from Gus's operation in order to tie up loose ends. So they kind of meet up in this coffee shop for breakfast. And yeah. Mike refuses as Gus paid them enough to keep quiet. However, when he is called in to meet with Hank and Gomez, Mike learns the authorities have seized all of the offshore accounts Gus had set up for key underlings in his meth operation. So Mike is like, oh my God, they're on our ass. They have all of our bank accounts. Mike is affected as well since his account, set up in his 10-year-old granddaughter's name, was worth $2 million. On Mike's way into his interview at the DEA offices, he runs into a visibly scared Dwayne Chow, Gus's methylamine supplier, who is just leaving his own DEA interview. So they're going after these 11 names and they're interviewing all of them. I think this is the first time we might have met her. I'm not sure. Later, Chow invites Mike to his home to discuss their shared problem with the police and how they're going to solve this thing. Mike correctly suspects that it is a setup and gets the jump on Chris, one of his former men, who has already killed Chow. Chris explains that Lydia had contracted him to kill everyone after Mike refused as he needs the money. So pretty much only one of these 11 guys is going to survive. That is insane to me. Is it not? I mean, that's the storyline. That is the plot for this season right now. We're getting this revealed to us that, oh my God, who out of the 13 men are going to survive? Who are out of the 11? I'm assuming Walt, Jesse, Mike, Mr. Chow, and this Chris guy. Those are 5 of the members. I'm assuming I don't even know. We know 5 of the members, and 2 of them die in this episode. So we're down to 9 people after episode 2. So episode 1 was kind of a introduction, a prologue, or whatever you call it. Yeah. Mike kills Chris and later breaks into Lydia's house in Houston. She honestly might be one of the names. As he is about to execute her, Lydia's panic pleas about her daughter affect him, having a granddaughter himself and kind of knowing the big deal that is family. He decides to spare Lydia in exchange for her becoming Walt's new methylamine supplier. So now we have 4 people. We have the methylamine supplier, we have the distributor, and we have the 2 cooks. Mike calls Walt and accepts a partnership in the new meth operation. So yeah, Mike's like, okay, we got a methylamine supplier, I'm in. Skylar has become paralyzed by feelings of overwhelming fear and helplessness at the type of person Walt has become. Should she be surprised, though? I mean, he's in the meth business. He's kind of, learned to be this hard-headed individual. Walt joins Skylar in bed for the night, gently explaining why it's for the best that she accepted the new phase their lives have entered, and again hints at remorse for what happened to Ted. He feels bad for Ted. He didn't want this to happen to Ted. Saul Goodman's the one that made this happen, not Walt. This isn't something you could blame Walt for. Even though her back is still facing him, Walt continues to reassure Skylar on how things are much better than she thinks they are, while escalating sexual foreplay on her without her consent. So again, we have this rapey like version of Walt that we kind of saw earlier in the show. We're looking anxious, lost, and perhaps on the verge of some kind of outcry. Skylar remains completely quiet as the scene suddenly cuts to black. So something is extremely wrong with Skylar. She's very like post-traumatic. I don't know. I mean, she's in a very bad place emotionally right now, and Walter's gonna have to reassure her or try. I would say this is a step up from the premiere, in my opinion. It's a terrific one. One of the methods to Breaking Bad's endless fascination is the way it unfurls maps of interdependence. Certain characters may like to see themselves as independent agents, as lone wolves, but everyone is dependent upon someone else. Very true. Someone else's errors or a rare twinge of good conscience, and thus must remain part of a group. It's a braided metaphor for the reasons we form societies. I wish the episode ended more forcefully, with Mike making the reluctant phone call to Walt, rather than ending with the Walter-Skylar bedroom scene. I agree. It's a near-perfect episode to me. Through its attention to detail, direction, and dialogue, Breaking Bad possesses an uncanny ability to enrapture and enthrall. You can't help but be invested in every moment. Who's Jonathan Banks? Oh, he's Mike Ehrmantraut. A lot of people liked Mike Ehrmantraut's performance in this one. Overall, just a terrific showcase this week for Jonathan Banks. His portrayal of Mike paints the picture of an exasperated career criminal who excels at the game and is resigned to his fate. He's funny, and he somehow manages to be the moral center of this operation despite his willingness to kill and kill and kill. This guy is not scared to do anything. The episode is an example of great directing in television. It's contained not a single dull shot, stylistically reminiscent of like thriller films from Alan Pakula, through the sense of space, light, and pacing. As a general public though, people don't see this as like a good episode for Breaking Bad standards, but it definitely sets up for a lot of things that are going to be happening in the show. Again, I don't know if they're going to carry out with this concept, but I think the concept of like these 11 men, now 9 men, left out of this operation fighting for survival and seeing who can be the last one to live. I think that's just absolutely amazing. I think only one of them is going to survive. So with this kind of storyline, I'm thinking, Walt and Jesse, one of those guys are going to have to die. I'm telling you, Walt and Jesse, I think one of them's going to die. And they're probably going to be the last two, and they're going to have to fight for their survival. And I think that's an absolutely fantastic, plot to get people really into this show a lot. I think Lydia's involved. I think Lydia is one of the names, so I think there's 5 other unknown names still that we have to uncover. I can't really think of who those would be, but they're probably going to have to kill off Lydia eventually, and then Walter and Jesse are probably going to have to kill off Mike. And just this idea of you never know who's going to die next. This is in a lot of the final seasons of TV shows, they try to kill off people to give some shock value, to give some, it's a reason to watch the show. If no one dies in the show, if all the heroes win, then there's no reason to watch it. But they're going to start giving people even more reason to watch it, even through its expertise. It's already a worthwhile watch as it's in itself. But that's going to do it. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. Hopefully you've enjoyed all of my reviews of these episodes. And we got a good 14 episodes left to go on this